Um, the African Democratic Congress rejoices with the families and communities whose loved ones have been rescued from the recent wave of kidnappings across the country, including the worshippers abducted from Christ Apostolic Church, Okeshegun, Kwara State, and the school children taken from Government Girls Secondary School, Maga, Kebbi State. We are delighted that these citizens can finally reunite with their families. We must reiterate, while we are delighted that these citizens can finally reunite with their families, we must reiterate our long-standing position that these abductions should never have occurred in the first place. If the government were alive to its constitutional responsibilities, what the country is witnessing today is a consequence of an administration distracted by politics and behaving less like a democratic government and more like an occupying force. It is telling that it took a chastening comment from President Donald Trump to provoke even the slightest response from this government to the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Yet, even as we welcome the safe return of the victims, we remain deeply concerned about the opaque and troubling manner in which their release was secured. The conflicting accounts coming from different government officials make it clear that the federal government is not being honest with Nigerians about the circumstances surrounding the release of the abducted victims. We strongly believe that this administration is negotiating deals with insurgents. It is especially alarming to hear the Inspector General of Police state that the perpetrators of the Kwara Church attack were not arrested just because they came out voluntarily to surrender the victims. Equally troubling is the comment attributed to the presidential spokesman, Bayo Onunuga, suggesting that the abductees were released simply because the government and security operatives asked them to do so. This raises serious questions. Is the Nigerian government paying ransom to insurgents? What exactly was exchanged for the so-called surrender of weapons by the kidnappers? And if these bandits truly surrendered weapons, what prevents them from simply acquiring new ones and continuing their criminal enterprise? If they are not going to be arrested and brought to justice, what happened to the people they shot and killed in cold blood? Where is justice for the families of those victims if their murderers are allowed to go scot-free because government needs a quick win to celebrate? The ADC is deeply concerned that if negotiation with bandits has become the government strategy for tackling insurgency and the surge in kidnappings, then Nigeria is on a dangerous and misguided path. It is the approach of an administration searching for shortcuts instead of confronting the problem decisively. By appeasing insurgents in this manner, the government is in effect expanding the banditry economy. Predictably, the bandits returned to the same Ekiti local government in Kwara State the very next day after the release of the churchgoers, abducting 11 more people in Ishapa town in Kwara State. This pattern shows clearly that a system that focuses on rescuing victims without bringing perpetrators to justice only reinforces the vicious cycle of terror. Closure of schools. A few days ago, in response to the escalating abduction of children, the federal government ordered the closure of 47 unity schools across the country. Several state governments have followed suit, shutting down schools and sending children home. While the government may consider this the safest short-term options, it sends a dangerous message to terrorists. A government that quietly negotiates with insurgents and then shut down schools to avoid further kidnappings has in effect conceded ground to terror. By closing schools, the Tinubu administration is reinforcing the ideology of Boko Haram, which was built on which was built on a claim that Western education is forbidden and signaling weaknesses where strength is required. This government is effectively telling the world that it cannot protect Nigerian school children or safeguard our public institutions. The government is admitting that it can no longer take responsibility for the security of children entrusted in their care. What we are witnessing is the creeping paralysis of our society and the gradual shutting down of our country. Terrorists are now dictating government decisions and reshaping the future of our children. What kind of nation abandons its children to kidnappers and then closes their schools in surrender? How long will we continue to keep our children at home? And by what measure will government decide that it is finally safe for children to go back to schools? At this moment, no one, not even government, appears to know the exact number of school children kidnapped in the past week. This alone is a damning indictment of an administration that claims to take the security of its citizens seriously. How can the number of abducted children or those still in captivity be the subject of confusion in a country facing a national security crisis? What is evident is that this government's alarming incompetence has become a security threat in itself. The federal government must immediately determine the precise number of school children being held captive following the recent abductions in Naija, Kebbi, and other states. It must also inform Nigerians of the concrete steps being taken to secure their release, along with a clear timeline for action. These innocent children must not spend a day longer in captivity. The tragedy of the Chibok girls remains a deep scar on the nation's conscience, a reminder of a country that fails its own daughters. History must not be allowed to repeat itself. The governments must bring back our children now. Safe Schools Initiative and the way forward. Even more troubling is the government's quiet abandonment of the Safe Schools Initiative and the Safe Schools program, both of which were designed to strengthen security around learning environments and prevent exactly the kind of mass abductions we are witnessing today. These programs were not perfect, but they represented a commitment to protect children where they learn and grow. Today, that commitment has been discarded. The government must now choose leadership over fear. If schools have been shut because they are unsafe, then the logical response is not to retreat, but to reinforce security in our schools. We call on the federal government to immediately deploy the Civil Defense Corps to all the federal unity schools so that children can safely return to the classroom without further delay. Protecting our schools is not optional. It is a constitutional and moral responsibility. The more we capitulate, the more ground we lose as a nation. Every single day that schools remain closed, terrorists grow bolder, communities grow more fearful, and Nigeria drifts further from the promise of security and stability. A country that cannot protect its own children cannot protect its future. The ADC urges the government to act decisively, transparently, and responsibly. Reopen the schools and secure the schools. Bring our children home now and show Nigerians and the world that this nation will not bow to terror. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Do you have any questions? Well, I mean, you know the parameters for a failed state, so I know you know the answer to the question you're asking me. You know, a nation that's not able to protect its children, because what are those things that you look for in a state? A state that cannot even keep schools open. A state that would rather shut down schools and send children home rather than protect them. I mean, what we just witnessed in the shutting down of the 47 unity schools is just a latest episode in what has become a pattern in northern Nigeria. So many children have been kept out of school for indeterminate long period of time in northern Nigeria. So what we are saying is that this administration is bowing to terror. The terrorists can sense the vulnerability of the Nigerian state, and they believe that our country is there for the taking. So this is the time that government needs to show strength. But what they are doing, because they need quick win to celebrate, because they are obsessed with politics. So what they are doing is negotiating with terrorists in order to be able to celebrate headlines that they have rescued the children, rather than actually going after the insurgents who have turned our country to a killing field.
Any further question?
It is shocking. That's why I say the government is not addressing the fundamental issues. The government is not behaving like they understand the enormity of the security challenges that this country faced. I mean, a governor of his state was alleging that the security that was mounted in the school, someone called them and demobilized them. And shortly after the bandits, who demobilized the security that was provided to the school? The federal government is not asking these questions. Rather, what they are doing is doing business with terrorists and negotiating with them. We also saw videos of terrorists celebrating and even joking and playing with children. Why is the federal government of Nigeria not going after them? They know where they are. They know where they send officials to them to negotiate. Why are they not going after them? Now, the question you are asking, it is obvious that the information within the Nigerian security system is getting to the terrorists. Why is the federal government of Nigeria not auditing its own system? So there is a whole lot of things wrong. It's not just about what we see. There is a whole lot of things going on. And when you listen to the spokespersons of government and they talk to us as if we are foolish people. I mean, can you imagine the Bayo Ononuga saying that the victims were released just because the government asked them nicely? I mean, it shows that the government is not serious and they are insulting our intelligence. So for us as a party, we are saying that this government is overwhelmed and they have demonstrated incompetence in dealing with the issues. They lack the political will, because in the last 2 years, what you have seen is they are obsessed with politics. Even now, while Nigerian children are still in captivity, we don't even know how many children. While insurgents run riot across our country, what did our president do? Appointing campaign manager for 2027. So it shows a government that does not even care about the people.